My name is Ian Parkinson. I was an infantryman with the United States Army's 10th Mountain Division. We deployed to Kandahar, Afghanistan in the spring of 2011, fighting season. Specifically, we deployed to the Zari district in the Arghandab River Valley. Visually, this was a stunning region of the country. Our area of operation consisted of vast farmlands of lush blooming poppies, intersected with grape rows, and distant mountains that would pierce the sapphire blue skies. It was, however, a deceiving landscape for an area that was densely packed with IEDs and high levels of enemy activity, which the units before us coined the nickname the Devil's Playground. Our mission was pretty straightforward: maintain a stronghold in the region, find, confront, and eliminate Taliban forces, and establish long-term relationships with the local populace. And we achieved this through regular patrols throughout the villages surrounding our outpost and engaging with key leaders in each one of those villages. One particular patrol on June 6, 2011 would earn itself as one of the most significant and poignant days of my life. On that day, our 1st Squad, Headquarters Element, and ANA, Afghan National Army soldiers, and I conducted our patrol throughout a number of villages. And as we're heading back to our outpost, Kop Diwar, we intercepted a Taliban radio message. Our interpreter translated the message, which was something along the lines of, "We have the Americans in our sights and we're ready to attack," which wasn't out of the ordinary. We'd often get attacked on our exfil, but the Taliban knew that we'd be fatigued from activities throughout the day or night. So once the message was disseminated to me, I turned around to the soldiers behind me, relaying the message, and I think I added, "Hey, keep your eyes open, keep your spacing," something generic. And I turned around and I took, maybe 1 or 2 more steps, and then suddenly the ground erupted from beneath my feet. I heard a cacophonous roar before hearing nothing more than this whining, high-pitched ringing in my ears. I saw a bright flash followed by a little more than darkness, and I felt this sensation of weightlessness as I was catapulted into the air. And I hung in limbo for about a moment with thoughts of confusion flooding my mind before gravity ushered me back to the ground. I was engulfed in a cloud of dust and smoke. I was stunned. I coughed just to check that I could still breathe. I could hear a lieutenant, the man who was in front of me, he yells, "IED." So in my head, I'm like, okay, that's what just happened. Then I can hear our medic, the guy who's behind me, he goes, "Hey, I've got a double amputee." So figuring out my position between the two, I realized that was me. Bummer. And it turns out I'd lost both my legs above the knee. My left elbow was shattered, my pelvis was fractured, I was concussed, and I sustained a number of shrapnel wounds throughout the rest of my body. My condition was critical, and at that moment had, at best, minutes to live unless I was given immediate treatment. So our medic, Doc Newby, he picks himself up after having been knocked back from the blast, dashed over to my position to save my life. Hastily, he applied tourniquets in order to stop the arterial bleeding emanating from both my legs. He splinted my arm and stabilized me with the help of a few other members of 1st Squad. And a medevac helicopter was called in somewhere between about 15 and 20 minutes, and I was transferred to a litter and hoisted onto the bird. That brief period of time between the blast and the arrival of the medevac was in so many ways surreal. I can recall lying on the hard-packed Afghan dirt road, staring up at the sun and cringing as its rays stung as they beat down on my exposed flesh. And I didn't want to show pain. I didn't want to exacerbate the fear of IEDs. And with my body in shock, I thought I kept it together pretty well, at least until Doc splinted my arm. That pain was excruciating, and I definitely let him know. And as weird as it may sound, there was an absence of fear. I trusted those there with me, and I was confident that if I made it to the hospital, then I would survive. However, there was this brief period of time where my vision began to funnel inward. And I was worried that there was an undiscovered wound and I was bleeding out. And that was the only moment where I thought, okay, I might die right here, right now. But in the scope of all that was happening, I didn't really care so much that I'd lost my legs. It was more so I was saddened by knowing that I'd leave my comrades behind. And I wanted to keep fighting. And I felt guilty knowing that everyone else would have to stay and work even harder, picking up my slack, and that they would have to continue to traverse the mine-laden landscape, confronting the risk of death every day and night while I was going to be comfortable back in the States. My heart still tightens thinking about it. About leaving them, my comrades, the ones that were there with me, caring for me, tending to me. And I felt a greater sense of loss leaving my comrades behind in that remote poppy field than I did in losing physical parts of my body. Now, while getting hit by an IED is what earned me my Purple Heart, there's something else I'd like to bring to focus. One Taliban tactic, known far too well by American forces, is the use of secondary IEDs. So what the Taliban would do is they lay down a string of IEDs, detonate one, wounding or killing one or more soldiers. Then when others would come to their aid, they detonate a second one, secondary IED, to inflict a greater number of casualties. Doc Newby and all the others that attended to me knew that. And rather than waiting, checking for secondaries, preserving their own relative safety, they chose to come to me, risking their lives. And had they waited, I likely would have been killed on June 6, 2011. So, I'd like to consider this story to be less about one soldier losing his legs, and more so about the courage of those there with him. The ones that were willing to sacrifice so that others, in this case I, may live. The ones that had the ability to stay calm in a dire situation and to nurture even when it was their primary job to kill. These are the qualities of those that I served with, and that's what I think this story is truly about. These were the members of 3rd Platoon, Battle Company, 1st Battalion, 32nd Infantry Regiment, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division.